So just a little talk about breathing today. Breathing is really important for your core and your pelvic floor. So when we're thinking about breathing, rib cage. So your ribs should expand out to the side as you take a breath in and then fall back down again. However, one thing that happens is we get stressed because modern life is stressful, isn't it? So we end up breathing either up here, taking shallow breaths, and that's setting off our fight or flight response, where it's like we've got a bear in front of us, we're panicking, we're stressed, we're taking these shallow breaths. Or some people are belly breathers, so they breathe more into their tummies. And again, that can be more of a relaxing way to breathe, but it's not properly using our core and our diaphragm. So I'm going to talk you through the way to breathe optimally. Okay, there's actually a whole load that goes on with breathing, so I'm just going to talk us through some steps. So first off, I just want you to think about, how do you normally breathe? I know that me, as a stressed mum, if I'm not thinking about it, I breathe up here, so I tend to be more of a chest breather, and I catch myself doing that, and I have to refocus things. So I want you to take your hands and just place them on your ribs, and then just take a breath. Do you feel much expansion going on in your rib cage? You might not. So then take a hand, place it up here. What's happening? Is there a lot of movement going on in your chest? So if so, then you're using your secondary respiratory muscles. And take a hand and just place it on your tummy. Now again, there may be some movement in your tummy, and that's normal, and some movement in your chest is normal, but we don't want all the movement to be coming from there. So just a couple of deep breaths, breathing in and out. Then just take your hands, place them back on your ribs. Now think, can you get this breath coming into the rib cage? So both of those hands should push out to the side as you inhale and then fall back down. So try and get as much breath as you can, pushing into the hands. Now, as you take those breaths in and out, so you can continue breathing, as you're breathing in, the diaphragm is expanding, so the ribs are moving out to the side, and that inhale is actually the relaxation phase. So that is when your pelvic floor is descending down and relaxing, your core is relaxing, so your lower abdominals are relaxed, your lower back is relaxed as well. When you breathe out, it's like a piston effect. So we've got this connection between the diaphragm and the core, including the pelvic floor. And as you breathe out, the air comes out of the body and this piston draws up, which means we get this tightening in the lower abdominals, a little bit of a stiffening in the lower back, and the pelvic floor comes up with it, which is fabulous, because if we breathe properly, then everything works. The problem is most of us don't breathe properly. So, I want you to bring yourself down to lying. Okay, and once again, hands going on the rib cage. Okay, and then it's this breath in and out. So just nice big deep breaths. And try and get that breath coming into the ribs without tightening in the backs of the legs or in the bum. Just think, is there much going on in the belly? If there is, try and send that breath from the belly into the rib cage. Also think about what's happening in your back. So ideally you want to feel your back almost pushing down into the mat as you breathe in, because we're going for a 360-degree breath. So the breath comes into the front, the sides and the back of the body. Now I want you to think about that exhale. So as you breathe out, think about the air coming from your pelvis all the way out. Okay, so we don't exhale from the rib cage first, we want the breath to come from the pelvis out. So it's this inhale, breath fills the ribs, fills the tummy, fills the pelvis. As you breathe out, breath comes all the way out from the pelvis and up. I want you to take just a couple of breaths there, just thinking about that.
Nice and relaxing too. So breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. And that exhale is a little bit slower than the inhale. Now I want you to try and exhale for the count of 10. So we're going to breathe in and then breathing out. So just do that a couple of times. You're trying to get as much air as you can all the way out of your lungs. The reason is, firstly, I want you to take a really big inhale at the end. And secondly, I want you to think about what you feel happening. So as you get towards the end of your out breath and you're running out of air, what is happening in your body? So I'll just do one with you. So nice big breath in and breathing out for about 10. So what you should feel is this tightening in the lower abdominals. It's like the abdominals are coming towards you. There's a little bit of tensioning and a little tension in the pelvic floor as well. If you do, everything's working properly. If you don't, do not panic. You can be fixed. It's just a case of working on that breathing. So step 1 to help with pelvic floor is to really focus on the breath. Focus on the ribs expanding out to the side. It's like an umbrella opening up, and then the umbrella is closing again. And if you can think about that just during your day, fabulous. If you can actually work on that, so spend 5 minutes doing some deep breathing, thinking about what's going on. Are you breathing out from the base of your pelvis all the way up? Can you feel those lower abdominals engaging that pelvic floor, having that little lift? Great. If you can't feel your core working, then firstly, it's something to work on. Secondly, you can help it along, so you can just gently activate the lower abdominals and think about lifting the pelvic floor. And if you're doing those pelvic floor exercises, so those Kegels, you want to be doing those on the out breath for this reason, because this is when the core naturally fires.